Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we're privileged to have with us Tony Grebmeier with ShipOffers. Thank you for being on the program, and welcome, Tony.
Hey, thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, you're welcome. And as you know, this program is just kind of like a mastermind fireside chat, just getting to know each other as well as learning from opportunities, mistakes, weaknesses, strengths, things like that entrepreneurs have experienced in building their careers. And, you know, I'm picturing in my mind right now a graphic that I think you may be familiar with potentially, but it's like the entrepreneur's journey to success. And it's the little line that goes from one side all the way straight up, you know, and it says that's what we think it's going to be. And then the next picture is this whole squiggly, and then you're up, down, and then back and forth and left and right, and then you kind of maybe can succeed. So I'm sure that you can speak to some of those struggles and hills and valleys, but give us a little bit about background of yourself and what led you to ShipOffers, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Well, first I got to say entrepreneurship is a journey, not a straight line. So I totally agree with you your statement. You know, I was a typical kid, grew up in a nice neighborhood, and I found some friends in my neighborhood that I ultimately went into business some 15 years later. So we've been in business 16 years, a couple childhood friends that all went off to, college and met back up. And the interesting part is in 2001, I was in my 20s and didn't know anything about business, had all the typical things go wrong, right? Merchant accounts, chargebacks, customers mad because products weren't shipping to them, et cetera. And along the way, we grew up. And that's our 16-year kind of journey is every day is a lesson. And I have to be willing to show up to take the lesson in hand and do something with it, right? Because there's somebody teaching, and I want to be a good student. So the game is I never know everything. I know enough to get me through today. And, what's been fascinating about it is I've been taken for millions of dollars along the journey, and I've also been able to make millions of dollars along the journey. And that's because you meet marketers along the way, and they'll run a scheme or a scam on you. And I'm just a believable, trustable guy. And what I tell everybody is that you really need to vet out your relationships. You just need to really know the person that you're dealing with, who they are as a human being, because I built personal relationships today because of all the stuff that happened to me in my past, before I go into a professional relationship. And I vet them out on a personal level, try to get to know them. I tell them before we'll do business, let's do life together. And if we can do life together, then maybe there's an opportunity for business. And,
excellent. I couldn't agree more. And I think that you probably could teach a master class on vetting relationships or vetting even people, whether you bring them close to you or hiring. I'm sure that's just an art form. But one thing you mentioned that I want to go deeper on, every day is a new lesson. So if every day or since every day is a new lesson, what have you found that helps you recognize those lessons?
Sure. I spend a lot of time in meditation and journaling in the morning, and I have a flow process that I created several years back, kind of the art of living a fulfilled day, and how I look backwards at yesterday, because yesterday is the greatest principle of today's teacher, right? So yesterday is going to tell me everything that I didn't get to do, everything that I didn't do right, or maybe I need to look at today. And so I spent some time writing down my day backwards, not forwards, backwards, because it's cognitive function too. And so you write it all backwards, and you'll see some things that start showing up. Like, hey, when I was working yesterday, I wasn't working at my highest level. I had a lot of interruptions and distractions, and I need to block out better time on my calendar and make sure that I can get my work done in that time frame. I run a company. We roughly ship about 40,000 shipments a week out of our facility here in Denver, Colorado. We've got about 30 employees. There's a lot of bright, shiny items going on that you can get easily distracted on. You can go down the wrong rabbit hole. So if you write down everything that you did backwards, it's going to show you where you need to pay attention. And then you transfer that to 3 things that you need to focus on today. So look back, because that's the greatest teacher, right, is reflection, and it helps you to set up today's wins.
I love it. That's excellent. Is there any other process that you use? You mentioned the flow process, but now once you recognize what you did or did not do right yesterday, And then you write down your three things. Well, what are you doing to make sure those get implemented? Are you waiting till the following day to look back to then see, okay, well, 2 days ago, I recognized this, so I needed to do these three things, and then here's the next day, and then the following day I look back and did I implement those or not? Does it kind of fold upon itself, or do you have specific implementation processes?
Yeah, perfect. I think, when I built a team, that's what we have here. So I have stuff that's on my schedule, and there's another way of saying it, drainers and drivers. I try to get everything that's not on my list off my list as fast as possible. So if it's on my list, it's been sitting there for a while, I'm going to go, hey, I'm going to transfer this to either one of my assistants, or I'm going to delegate it to one of the salesmen. I'm going to say, hey, take this and run with it. Let me know if you need any help. So like identifying the things that you're good at is the most important thing for me, at least in business. And then all the stuff that's been sitting around, someone's got to take care of it. So my schedule is available to all of my sales team, so they can log in, see my calendar, all my appointments, and they'll go, hey, you never answered that. You never got back to that. My email is seen by 3 or 4 different people. I have no email on my phone. You can't call my phone and you'll go to voicemail. Like I have set up ways of dealing with every situation in my life so that it effectively moves to the next level.
That's excellent. And you mentioned a process that reminded me of when I read David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. And it's kind of like do it, delegate it, or dump it. And every single thing, if you can, get it done really quickly, rock and roll on it. If you can't, delegate it to someone, or even, I would even say a subset of that concept is delegate it to yourself, but just later on, like this is something I'm going to do next week or next month or next quarter, or if it's just something where it's just been dangling for a few, sessions, dump it and just go, nope, move on, because I'm with you. I don't ever have zero inbox frequently, but boy, if you can have that control of the inbox, the email inbox, and the to-do list, what a liberating feeling that is, right?
Definitely. I call it, like you said, you had the 3 ways of determining. I call it handle it. So if someone sees it, deal with it, right? I don't need to deal with it unless you need to bring me into it and you can't figure out how to do it. And then that's when I get involved, and that's the teaching opportunity for me. And that's also the learning opportunity for me. I'm like, the delegation piece, had a speed bump and we kind of got derailed. How do we get back on track? So a handle it mentality is what, my assistant does to my sales team. And what I'm brought with is better solutions that they've come up with, because I want teammates and people to think on their own. I don't want to give them a fish, right? I want to teach them how to fish. And once I teach them how to fish, I want to let them go fish.
Yeah, that's huge. So I understand that you had some ups and downs, like you mentioned. Has there ever been a time where you had such a low down or a severe down that it was almost teetering on losing the company or really having some really drastic things happen?
Yeah, I mean, my personal life is a very big part of my story and who I am. And, a little over 8 years ago, I was attempting suicide because I just had a whole bunch of stuff going wrong in my personal life. And the company was just kind of like figuring out how do we stay afloat? How do we keep this going? How do we bring Tony back kind of like full captain into the ship and help us steer in the right direction? And thankfully I got a knock on the door that basically led to the most profound, statement I've ever heard in my life. And it was very simple. It says, Tony, your life has meaning and purpose, but what you're doing right now doesn't. And I'm a spiritual believer. I'm a being that says, I got an angel sent to my door that day, and that awoken me to the opportunity to really look at where my life was going and then what I could do to help this company. And basically, since, it took me a little bit of time to kind of get out of that funk and get myself kind of headstrong again. I've been sober 8 years, so that's been a great thing for the company, but also for me and my family personally. And in that context of all of that, we moved from California to Colorado in 2010 into 2011. And we were teetering on a decent business. We were happy, but I wasn't like, hey, we've met our true potential. And in over 16 years, we pivoted 4 or 5 times, still focused on the same thing, but made big adjustments along the way. And in 2012, the biggest adjustment we made was very simple when you look back on it, but it had the biggest impact on our organization. We simply changed our company's name. We went from a company called I-5, which was very relatable to anybody who lived in Southern California or California alone, because it's what most people would drive up and down. And then we changed our name after being at an event in San Francisco, Traffic and Conversion. I heard William Shatner on stage, kind of sit there as an 80-plus-year-old man talking about how he found fun in the wine, the Brown Bag Wine Club. You take a bottle of wine, put it in a bag, and you would just share with your friends, but no one knew what the bottle was, and it just created a great conversation. I said, if that guy up there can do something fun and he's passionate about it, how do we get passionate about shipping and fulfilling products and logistics services for customers? I walked out, turned around to my 3 friends that I was with, and I said, what do you guys think of the name ShipOffers? And everybody's like, oh, that's perfect, man. Do it. I literally got back, went into my 2 partners' offices, and I said, let's switch the name to ShipOffers right then and there. That changed, but everything from it changed. Our mentality, how we showed up in the morning, how we laid out the sales process, how we got really passionate about going back to masterminds, workshops, attending events, working with our customers. That was, if not the biggest kind of aha moment for me, is everything changed just by changing our name, but our business is more or less still the same. It's just we all bought back in to working really, really hard on helping our customers win again.
The neat thing is you can get passionate and enthusiastic about something that most businesses despise, right? Because it's kind of like, payroll or taxes or accounting or QuickBooks. Most business owners and entrepreneurs hate that, but if you just are passionate about it, that's a big opportunity. So here is, shipping, fulfillment, and things like that most business owners are either confused about or just, it just grates on their nerves when things go wrong. You can provide a really neat service. And the thing that I was thinking about when you were mentioning the William Shatner story is you were at an event, so check off the box of get involved and be at events. But I would submit to you that many people, if we could rewind and have a little hidden camera in that area of the room you were sitting or the whole room, many people at that event and that speech were sitting there taking their phones out, cruising on Facebook, thinking about other things, talking to their friends out in the lobby. You were there and you were present, and you listened to the same message that a lot of people listen to with Shatner speaking there, but they didn't have an epiphany moment like you did. So can you think about how some of those things all, played into that? Like, why did you hear that message? Sure, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear and all of that, but you were there and you were ready to make a change and you were listening and other people weren't.
Well, it backs up just a little before that, because one of my good colleagues and friends, Kevin Cohen, had said to me, Tony, you used to be in radio. You used to go out every night out into the audience and you'd meet people. And for the last, 12 years of your business, you've been basically hiding behind your desk answering phones. And it's time to get you out. It's time to get you out from behind the desk, because, you can wait for the phone to ring, or why don't you go work on making the phone ring? And live events are a great way to network. So you get to a live event, you meet a whole bunch of people. I sat at the edge of my seat just like I am for this conversation, because I'm super present to the opportunity, which is someone's up there giving me their energy and their excitement. I want to connect with them on some vibration, right? So I sat at the edge of my chair and I listened passionately, and I was like, this guy is awesome. Yeah, I had that moment, right? I want to take out my phone and take a photo. I'm like, hey, I'm listening to William Shatner. He's blowing it up. But I zeroed in on the fact that he was having fun in his 80s, and he wasn't a grumpy old man, right? I've seen those movies, and you're like, this guy's just lit up still. Yeah, he was part of Priceline, and he was telling his stories, so he was captivating. So I gave him 100% of me because I knew he was giving me 100% of him, and that just made for just a better interaction. And you know what? When I walked out of that event, because a lot of people can go to an event, get one idea, and never return. They're like, oh, I got the one thing. So that, to me, lit and changed basically how I run my business and my company and how we interact with our partners, all from just somebody just being passionate. And I'd always been passionate. I had 16 jobs by the time, I was 18 years old. I'd only been fired one time, and that was for giving my brother an ice cream cone, and that's a whole different story. But the concept was I'd always been looking for what I really wanted out of my life. What did I want my life to be? And when I just sat back for a moment, I'm like, this guy on stage is 80 plus years old and having a lot of fun and has no desire to quit. And that just said, you know what, to me, and I was like, he was talking about his wife, and I was like, just kind of working on my marriage again. And I'm like, you know what, I'm bought in, because he was selling something that I needed on that day. That was something that I needed to hear. And I think what it was for me was an opportunity. And, when those opportunities come, they knock all the time. We just don't always answer the door. I just was in the right place at the right time, and I heard the opportunity. And it was the one of a lifetime, which was, hey, you need to go buy back into your business and your philosophy. You don't need a new business. You need to work on the one you have. And I said, hey, you know what? You're right.
I think an interesting takeaway, too, is if you told him this today and he was on this line, he would potentially say, dude, I was just giving you I had no clue that someone would take it that direction. I'm happy you did. But the point is, I think when we are talking to people or doing whatever, if you have a podcast or you are, working with employees, there will be times that we say things to people that we think was just this 1 A, but they're looking at it as like what you just described, like they took away something that could just be dramatically different and beneficial. So we speak into people so many times, enthusiasm, passion, and guidance so many times and you never know where they're coming from to take what you're saying and apply it in their lives in a whole different manner. So I just love that example. And the other thing too is I know we've all heard it so many times where, I've been, working at the edge and putting in 48 hours a day, and I just need a break. I'm going to run up to the mountains and go fly fishing. And then it's at that moment that you have this big, huge aha moment of some idea because you're finally kind of like, I'm relaxing. I'm out of my normal element. I'm in this. And that's what happened also for you at that conference was you kind of got out of your element. You're in a new element, and then you were present and listening. And I think that's really an interesting concept that way. Leads me to another question. You mentioned a couple times pivoting and opportunities. How do you stay in the mindset of being relevant and competitive? Because your market today has changed a lot in the last 16 years. How do you watch for those changes so that you can stay relevant as a business?
I love that. It's a great question. So one of the interesting things, I was on the phone with one of my colleagues last night, Josh, and we were talking about the waves that come crashing, right? You go to the beach, you grab your surfboard. I'm from a surf town, and you see what's in front of you, right? You actually have to push past the sets and actually see the horizon and see what's out there. Well, history repeats itself. Jim Rohn says, for the last 6,000 years, it's been difficulty mixed with opportunities. It's going to be what it's going to be like for the next 6,000 years. And so what we constantly see is the same trend, right? You go through seasonalities, you go through the ups and downs. There's very little reinvention. And if it is, it's always a short wave and it's going to come crashing down. Doesn't matter what the product is. There's always a short shelf life. So I've always looked for longevity in the market. So what are the winners, the classic examples? You have your krill oil, your fish oils, you have your turmerics, you have your testosterone boosters. You have those types of products that are always around, and they usually get respun, and they come out with some new little edge. Like this fish was only grown in this one hatchery in this small little town, and it's never been touched by another human besides our catchers or whatever. And it's all marketing, right? So what I tell people all the time is, come to me when you're passionate. Not about selling a specific supplement, but you're passionate about doing something because it has a relevance, right? For me, I lost my dad 3 years ago to Alzheimer's and dementia. I've had a mother-in-law with cancer. I saw my dad, his death, and I saw my grandfather die, and then I have a father-in-law who has Parkinson's, and then I've had somebody else. My son has type 1 diabetes. So I see today so many things that you can affect change in with supplements. But I tell people, don't come to me with I just want to make money. Come to me with a passion and a reason behind it, and then let's find the right product for you, and we'll head out into the market together. And I'll bring my Rolodex of people and my copywriters and my marketers, and I'll help you get to that peak that you want to get to.
I love it. That's awesome. I mean, just so many nuggets of knowledge dropped in this conversation, and I think we could continue for about 2.5 more hours and just be coming up for air. So at some point we need to wrap it up. So here's my question. I know you have a podcast show and you've got your business ShipOffers. If someone wants to learn more about ShipOffers or listen in on some of your podcasts, what are the best ways that they can reach out and engage with those? Sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Tony at ShipOffers.com is my email. I personally do try to get the emails that get forwarded on to me. I'll write you back. But ShipOffers.com, learn more about what we do. We just basically help owners not have to hold inventory, and we'll help you to scale your business. So take a look if you're interested in the supplement game. Also, I do run a podcast show, The Tony G Show. You just visit it at tonygshow.com, and I'm happy to, interview any interesting entrepreneurs on their journey, because I'm not necessarily after an entrepreneur. I'm after the journey of the entrepreneur.
Love it. Well, Tony, thank you so much for your time today. It was wonderful getting to know you and your background and how you are succeeding in business. Thank you again for all your tips and insights. Well, I just want to say, Mike, it's been awesome, and you did a great job interviewing me, because I'm not necessarily easy to. I'm like a bull ready to go out of the gate. You never know which way you're going to go, but thank you very much for doing an awesome job, and I'm excited to be on your show. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.